Want to know about dancing, that's all.
Dancers have coordination, skill, timing, fitness and grace. Take a long, hard look in the mirror. Now I'm busy. Don't be late for job club, lads.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Well, no pre-ramble this week, as for to come back to doing this later than we thought.
Yeah. I think life just throws a little bit sometimes at you that you can't anticipate and you can't plan.
And for that reason, we couldn't really record anything with how we were feeling.
I don't think anyone would have appreciated my voice. It sounded like I'd smoked 20 packs of cigarettes. Like, it was ridiculous. And there'd have been a lot of coughing and spluttering. The editing would have been
an absolute nightmare.
It
so,
would.
Yeah.
But we're here, we're alive, we're healthier, we're recovered.
Yep, and we're back with an episode that I kind of feel like is when I gave you the option of various different films to what should we put on that you haven't seen, and I gave you an array of.
Must have not been feeling well that day. Maybe COVID had already somewhat mangled my brain.
Why?
I don't know. I'm surprised myself that I picked it, to be fair.
Well, I thought it more like payback in a way from Poor Things, because you were like, okay, let's go with the full Monty.
Yeah.
Because it was like men stripping off.
True.
I said to you, though, it's not quite Magic Mike, is it?
No, sadly not. They're not all ripped and buff and, just normal men.
But it is British.
It is.
Northern, more specifically.
But you can tell it's dated, like, within its time. Like, it is somewhat stuck in a bit of a time warp. Like, early 90s or 2000s.
Late 90s, yeah. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah.
Which, I don't know, back then I think people had a more simplistic life.
Yeah, in a way, but at the same time it shows that things are still tough, even trying to find work.
I think so, but I mean more like technology and, you didn't have the high life of like, oh, we're going to buy a new car or we're going to do this and that and we're going to get the new fanciest modcon thing. Like technology was becoming a thing, but it wasn't massive and not many people could afford it. It wasn't achievable for everybody to access it.
I wouldn't necessarily say in this film it doesn't really reflect that too much. It's not like, technology's taking over or anything like that.
No,
I think
and I think that's the difference where it's like not somebody's on a phone every 2 minutes or, like nowadays making it more modernised. It's, the thing is, they're out of work, but all they're doing is like walking around the street or being a bit like a bum, where nowadays you wouldn't see them, they'd just be at home being a bum, is kind of what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
Like if they're bored, they're going to go out. Whereas now...
That's what you did when you go to the pub or whatever. And that's how you...
Whereas now you don't have that. Like, hardly... Loads of pubs have closed down. People would rather be at their own home than go out.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think...
Including us.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Especially if you're feeling unwell.
But this is set in Sheffield.
Not been to Sheffield.
I was just going to ask, have you been?
I think I might have been to a concert in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Maybe S Club 7 was in Sheffield.
Alright, well, I've only been to Sheffield, the central hub of it, when it was like with a sort of animation group, like a conference taking place there.
Were we together at this point?
No, it was before.
I'm going to say this does not sound familiar.
Yeah. But, yeah, in terms of... Obviously, it's going to have changed a lot since the 90s.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if... Obviously, because we are... you're just... You are technically more a 90s baby than an 80s child, let's be honest, because you're 89.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 1992, so I'm definitely a 90s baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's something I quite enjoyed about the film, like the way that the little boy was being brought up and it sounds really bad, and I think it's showing a bit of an age piece for us, where nowadays you wouldn't have a child of a boy being with a dad who's encouraging 5 or 6 grown men to strip in front of their son. That just wouldn't happen nowadays. It just wouldn't be acceptable.
No, because social services will be on.
Yeah.
For one thing.
It just sounds really wrong. And I think sometimes it's great how we've progressed in certain aspects of life.
Yep.
But however, sometimes it's like, oh, well, we couldn't do that nowadays. And it's a bit too much, isn't it? You know, like everyone's got an opinion about everything. And everyone's like, oh, well, everybody has to have certain rights and it's fantastic in some aspects, but otherwise it gets a bit overwhelming of what you can and can't do, what you shouldn't say. And I think this film just doesn't have that. It's just a normal film.
It's very breezy in how it's certainly its runtime at most, and it's I'd say the stakes aren't particularly high, but they are for, I guess, for our lead character, Gaz.
Gaz. My dad used to be called Gaz, to be fair, back in the day, when he was younger.
But obviously we've got a lot of, also got Dave as well, that's another common northern name.
It is, and so, I think what I love about Dave's character is it's nice to know that men feel insecure, and not just women. Like, they did actually point out as well within this film, like, oh, well, it's all right, you can be a chubby lad and no one will care. Women don't slag people off like that. You know, it's only men that do that. Like, oh, her boobs are too big or too small, or, you know, she's too fat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of shown that men are more judgy than actual women are. More judgmental towards a woman than a woman would be judgmental towards a man. Like,
right.
Dave being up there stripping, no one's going to go, oh, get off your fat, whatever.
Oh, right.
Whereas if it were a woman, you'd have to have all the pussycat dolls lined up or something for a man to be happy.
Okay,
Whereas these are just generic men. They're not like the Chippendales, where they're like hench and buff.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that men do feel insecure, because I don't know, I never normally think they do.
Well, yeah, no, of course, there's that, especially when you've got the lineup of the guys that we have here. They are a very mixed bag, and
which is nice. And you have got diversity within it. You know, you've got one guy that I forgot his name. Is it the horse? Mr. Horse?
Yeah, the black.
He's good for his age. Like, he can move. Then you've got Gaz, which, now actually I prefer Dave to Gaz. He's just too weedy as Gaz.
Bean,
yeah.
Who's, I said, is, remember a long time ago when we watched Once, and he was Rumpelstiltskin in that, so.
Which a bit freaked me out a little, because I didn't really like him as Rumpelstiltskin's character, and obviously he's a bit shifty a bit, and he had greasy hair, and yeah, it wasn't too unattractive, and obviously the accent that he did play.
Yeah, considering he's Scottish, and they proper took on that.
Suited him.
Yeah.
No wrong with a good northern accent. There isn't.
Yeah.
I think northern is biased. Obviously, I love a northerner. I think there's nothing wrong with being northern. I think we're so much nicer.
Yeah, the banter they've got all between, even from that very first opening part, which I didn't actually mention about the fact how I've seen this.
Oh yes,
yeah,
the fact that Paul has actually seen this film.
Yeah, you would be like, what?
And the situation does seem a bit bizarre of how you watched it as well.
Well, not really, because we were only focusing. This was in media studies in school, and obviously watching it on like one of those crappy TVs and stuff, so it didn't help. But obviously the film starts off with like this public service announcement type of thing of like, oh, how great Sheffield is, and all this, you know, in the 70s and everything, it's all booming and stuff, the steel works and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's before we ship it off to every other country to do it for us.
So I think it was kind of, as I can sort of remember what the reason why we're watching it from around that point, it was obviously that kind of like advertising of the economy was booming for that point, and then sort of like a side reflection of, was it 25 years later it said, and then it's like, oh, look at this desolate factory, and they point out when they're trying to just scrounge for any like metal just to get some money for Nathan's maintenance money. It's like, yeah, so that opening sequence when obviously like they're trapped in the factory, and they have to like move that beam over the water, drops in the canal. It's all fucking hell, mate.
Yeah,
20 quid each them, and it's like that was that kind of humorous stuff that's kind of stuck with me even after all this years. Like, because again, it's when you're watching it on the television in this class or whatever, it's like the teacher's like rewinded it and like kept playing it over and over, so gonna get stuck.
Yeah,
And that kind of stuff, and obviously like that. Right, when he's, I don't know if it's a typical man thing or not, but when he's like, oh, so yeah, someone's coming by, and he goes, all right, no, not so bad.
Yeah,
even though he's like in a rough situation.
Yeah.
That's not much of a chuffing SOS, is it? It's like that kind of, the humour of that is really great. It's what I enjoy about.
But I think that's what's quite cleverly done about the film as well, because we would, like, as a northerner, we'd be like, you alright? You know, it's just like kind of friendly, like, yeah. And it's just, I don't know, I don't feel, not slagging off any southerners here, but I don't feel like you would get that down south. Like, people are not going to say hello to one another. But you do up here, and you do up north, and you're friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And this shows the film in, obviously that's what, it's kind of embracing a northern accent, it's embracing northern culture, northern people. And I think what I love about him is nobody's perfect in this film. It's really raw and edgy, like everybody is just a normal person. It's like you're watching real life. And I think...
Yeah, now and again I like these kind of films where it's kind of like a dramatisation of what still feels real, though, in a sense. And
I can relate...
Like, you can believe them, believe the characters.
Yeah. It does feel a bit relatable to like Rita, Sue and Bob too. It's kind of like that.
Well, funny you mention that is because Dave's wife, Jean, she was in Rita, Sue and Bob too, and she was Bob's wife.
Oh, was she? Well,
so, and she does a lot of drama series as well, and she was in this other film, which is another like hard hitting drama called Naked, but she plays these roles quite well for the kind of like in the set in the northern.
Obviously, I prefer the full Monty Python, full Monty, compared to Rita, Sue and Bob 2, 100%, just because I can't get over the paedophilia kind of aspect in that.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it isn't.
There is a level of cringe in this, isn't there? But in a different way, I guess.
The only time it's cringy is obviously the boy shouldn't really be there while his dad or other people are stripping, but I think I like the boy and son relationship, even though you can see the boy thinks his dad's a bit of a scumbag, he's a bit of a layabout. Yeah,
it's because he's like, oh, we're going to go to a football match. Like, I want to see Man United, but it's like, oh, I can't afford that kind of thing. And it's kind of like his dad's a bit of a letdown, really. And it's like, Gaz is really trying, like, to do his best to hang around with his kid and, like...
Yeah, it's just not the environment the kid wants at the time. But then it turns where he's like, come on, Dad, you said you wanted to do this, and it really fully invests, does the son, bless him.
By the end, yeah.
Into his dad and gives him his savings, and I feel like that's something back in the 90s, I don't know, even I remember being little and going, oh, here you go, Mum and Dad, here's my savings, like, I don't need it, and being quite charitable and giving. I feel like nowadays... a child wouldn't even dream of doing that. No. But I could relate to, like, Gaz's child and think, well, actually, my parents need it more than I do. What do I need? I'm only 9 years old.
Yeah, and there's, as you say, technology and things that simpler times, I suppose, where you wouldn't, you just go down, hang around the park or whatever, and you don't need the money to
do
spend
anything.
on, a video game or
going
whatever.
To the cinema or whatever with your mates, you don't need to be going laser tag or...
Yeah, all that stuff.
And costing a fortune and needing pocket money, you just... I don't know. I think that's what I mean by technology or similar times, or life was just slower back then. I don't know if it's because we were children, but I feel like people's drives to do things weren't as much. It kind of reminds me of watching... what we started watching? Is it The Royal Family?
Yes, yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's...
We're working class, isn't it? Yeah.
And they're just happy to just get home, sit, have dinner, watch the telly, have the cigs, and that's it. That's all they need.
From life, yeah. Whereas there's a glimpse of like the more upper class in a sense, because when Gaz goes to see his wife, who's they're separated and all that, and the new fella that she's with, and he's got this nice grandeur house in the triple glazed windows. Can't hear me through them. He calling for Nathan, but it's and it's kind of like a bit of sad, especially as it kind of zooms out when he's like walking down the path, and it's like, oh yeah, he feels like so small in comparison to this. He can't afford that level of you can't afford that cost of living, basically, to live that
And
life.
I think money is the root of all evil. I've always said this. I think it's one of those things where, I don't know, I hate money. I absolutely do. Like, I know you need money to live, but I feel like money causes most arguments. It just does. It, like, if you don't have it, you feel bad for not being able to do things. It makes you feel worthless. And then if you wanting to use your money for something else, or somebody else wants it and thinks, oh, well, actually, you shouldn't be doing that. Why are you spending your money on that? You should spend your money on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tricky fine line. Like, I could say to you, why did you buy all your DVDs? You know, that could be a conversation. Luckily, that's not the conversation we have in our marriage. But, you know, that could be...
No, it could well be if it's like, you know, we've got final notice bills dropping through the letterbox, and then you're still doing that. Yeah, there's a problem, of course. But obviously, when you were saying about, you know, like almost like keeping secrets of like monetary stuff, that one of the characters, Gerald, who's like the older gentleman who was like their foreman before the factory closed down, and he's having to, I don't know, it's been probably months or something that he's like pretending, I'm going to work, and it's like, and he's just going down to the job, what they call the job club, which is now a job centre.
I think he just doesn't want to lose faith in front of his wife, and
because it's like, she wants to go for skiing, and it's like, let's hold off, and then it's like, trying to like bide some time, like thinking, right, I'm going to nail this interview to get the job,
and it doesn't matter,
and then it's like she won't even know.
Then you've got bills, you're getting repossessed, and just because of your pride, basically, that is literally it. Where, you know, if you're in a healthy relationship, you should be able to go, right, I've lost my job, we need to come back, and that's it, that's fine. Like, as long as you get to be able to manage to afford everything. But I think she was a stay-at-home wife or whatever, living in a lap of luxury.
I don't know if that was more of a sign of the times as well. Yeah. In some cases, the man was the breadwinner, wasn't it? And they brought home the bacon and all that stuff. And then, don't get me wrong, there was obviously some jobs for women, but I think it was still more commonplace at that point that men. The
man was the bread owner. Yeah, 100%. And I know lots of people will be like screaming in the graves now, like saying, "Oh well, you know, women and all of that." Yes, we've got to the times where we are. We're not equal, still, but you know, we're a lot better than we were. So we are progressing. But it is quite strange. Like, think about circumstances where, let's say, me and you were together, and you lost your job and I didn't work and I just cleaned the house and cooked and had your dinner on the table, then you're literally screwed, aren't you, if you lose your job, because you've got no money coming in. Whereas, like, nowadays, if you're both working, it's going to be a bit more tight, but you should be able to kind of get by. Because there is money still coming in, whereas if there's none, which this is the situation, he's getting repossessed. He's getting his telly taken off him, and in the end, I can imagine he loses his home by all the furniture. He's got a house but nothing in it. Yeah. So it's like quite bleak for him. And
the only source of income is going to the job centre. But
I don't know how much he got back then.
Probably not. I don't know if it's any different from what you get pittance these days. But
also, if his standard of living is quite high, because he was like a managerial role, wasn't he? He was a manager of like Gaz and Dave. So he
still have a sort of nice house,
So he had so it's like a cost of living where he was living up to a higher standard than what Gaz was. Yeah. So depending on what you've already got expenditure-wise coming out of your bank, you're going to struggle more, aren't you, to then have to find something that meets that standard of living for his wife. Whereas Gaz, bless him, all he wants to do is pay to be able to see his son and provide for his son. That's pretty much...
That's his main goal, the main focus.
Which is nice to see a dad back then really want to make an effort.
Yeah, so despite his kind of like rough and ready attitude with stuff, and you know, like he's scuppering Gerald's job interview and stuff for, I don't know, a bit of a laugh. Essentially, you still kind of feel sorry for him because he's really trying to maintain that relationship with his son Nathan. And
I think at the moment, probably Gerald, he's seen as his dickhead boss, basically, where he's like, well, he's been a nightmare all this time, and I need him now to help me with something because he can dance. Yeah. So it's like, well, I'm going to jeopardise yours so that I can benefit.
But get a group together to right, we're going to do this like Chippendale style thing that he's kind of seen that, oh, look how when they sneak into the women only club at the beginning.
Which I love.
And there he's like, has the realisation that, wow, there's how when he heads there to, like, you know, for ticket sales, that's quite a lot, and it seems simple enough to
take your kit off.
But yeah, there's, what is it, Gerald says, that's something that you need, like coordination, skill, and you know, finesse and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, things that you don't really have. And
but they
like,
do pull it off in the end, don't they? They do. So we've got, how many men have we got in total?
I want to say it's 6.
6, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. We've got, I say we haven't talked about I think it's called Lomper.
Is he the one that tried to kill
ginger
himself?
head, yeah.
So it's quite a comical scene, actually. And I know it's a
like
touchy
a dark,
subject.
dark humour, but yeah, as you've kind of, I guess you're sort of used to now with films we've watched.
Yeah, it doesn't even faze me, does it, anymore? So Dave being the helpful, I really like Dave. Like he's like, I don't know, my Sam the Pan Man, you know, from Lord of the Rings, and he's just the really.
That's a bit of an in-joke, isn't it? I don't think anybody.
Oh yeah,
really...
true. The Lego game when Sam had a pan all the time.
Yeah.
So now he's called Sam the Pan Man. There we go. He's Sam from Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But I love him because he's the chubbier character that you just love. And he's just so sweet and kind and soft and caring. And he's just, I think Dave's like that. He's just like a ball of fluff. Like, he's got a wife and he just feels insecure. And he's always nice to everybody. And even now with this character, he's seen that he's like, oh, his car's broke down. So, oh, you just need to lift the bonnet. You just need to do this and that. All more handy and more practical back then.
In terms of like working with machinery and stuff. Like, so he makes a comment later on about like, oh, doing welding stuff, like in this video that he's watching. It's like, oh, she's doing it
from Flashdance. Yeah,
rubbish job there. There's not even going to solder together, and that sort of humour like that is really funny.
But nowadays we wouldn't even know, would we? We'd be like, oh, we need to get somebody in.
Get someone else to do it for us. But anyway,
we're useless.
Yeah.
So bless him, he's fixing the car for this guy. Well, there you go, just no problem. You know, don't go, oh, well, that's 20 quid, give me, money for it, or anything like that. He's just doing it in a kindness.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, oh, okay. But obviously, Dave's not seeing the smoke kind of building up in the car.
And you see it in the distance foreground. And it's like, oh, shit. Yeah, and runs back to...
And then he calls him like a plonker or something like that. You stupid idiot, what are you doing? Not even like, are you all right? Why are you doing this? It was like, what? I've tried to help you when it's backfired.
Yeah. So, yes, it's kind of like a humorous way of looking at like how down on his luck this guy is. That he's going essentially committing suicide, but it's done in a humorous way.
I do feel for him because it's one of those things where he's looking after his mum and she's really terminally ill and they can't afford like a stair lift, so he has to carry her up to bed every night.
Yeah.
And he don't really have anybody else. He's just on his own, and once his mum's gone, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think the burden of looking after his mum is
taking a toll on him as well. Yeah. And then it's kind of like from this encounter with Gaz and Dave, it's kind of like, oh, we are your mates now. We just saved your life.
Yeah.
And it's, oh, thanks. Kind of.
And I think that's the simpler times back then as well. Like, right, okay, we're mates now.
Yeah, just from that
I don't know, I feel like making friends nowadays is a lot harder than it is back then.
Yeah.
Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you'd meet more people because you'd go out.
Yeah.
So, like, you'd go to the pubs and clubs.
And that was how you met women and such, and just have a conversation with random people, and that was it.
Simpler times. Yeah. So then obviously they start doing some auditions. So you've got Gaz, you've got Dave, you've got
Lomper, yeah.
And you've got the boss.
Gerald. Yeah.
So then we recruit Horse.
Yep, and Guy, who's where you said about him, is like, oh, Singing in the Rain's my favourite.
Yeah.
So
then he doesn't do the wall jump back out. I would have been really impressed if he'd have done that properly. So they're just running into a wall. Yeah,
which you don't even see at that point. He kind of like cuts away as if like he didn't really do that. Which is, it would probably been more funny and effective if you'd actually seen that, even just some sort of an attempt to do it and just fall on his back or whatever. But anyway,
just being on the floor.
Maybe it's just to, cover the fact of like, oh, I don't want him too injured to carry on doing the film. But
I think he brings a lot to the...
He's the young, buff...
good-looking one, and obviously he takes his pants off and they're like, oh, okay. They're packing down there. Yeah. And I think with him and Horse, you've got two quite strong characters where they can dance, they're they can do a performance. They are willing to want to drive this.
Yeah.
And Gaz at the same time is like when they're trying to dance, you can see like everyone's out of time apart from those two. Like they are the key ones.
Yeah, trying to coordinate. But as I say, you got to start off that way, haven't you? Because that's how you build up your characters to get better and better. And by the end, you're at the peak, aren't you?
Am I right in thinking that Guy and Lumper are gay?
Okay, yeah.
And they do. He gets a relationship from that with them. So actually, thanks to Gaz having the Chippendale idea, Lumper's life somewhat turns around a little bit.
Yeah.
His mum does sadly pass away, but he's gained a relationship and a partner from that, so he's not all on his own.
Yeah.
So his life seems more bearable.
Oh. Well, as we kind of see in amongst all this, we're obviously like, well, Dave needs money somehow, so he's taking a job at the Asda as a security guard.
And I think he's insecure as well, and I think he thinks, well, I can't do this, I'm not going to be able to commit to it. His wife thinks something dodgy's going on, bless her, because she's not getting any action, and I think that's because Dave's feeling so insecure about himself that he's just thinks he's inadequate, he's not good enough. And I think that's why I love him so much as a character. Yeah,
but I can totally understand the whole angle of you don't feel good about a guy not feeling good about himself, because it's like if you're trying your best to try and find work and nothing's coming out, it does make you feel pretty low. It's like, oh, what's wrong with me type of thing. And
why am I not good enough?
I'm sure we all have those moments anyway, don't we? We feel a bit inadequate about ourselves, our 100%. Skills. And therefore, I know it sadly just can sometimes reflect on the fact of like, oh, I'm not really in the mood because for any of that.
And as well, if you're feeling body conscious as well, because it's been brought more to a highlight with
her going to this Chippendales club and it's like, well, look at those men and stuff, and it's like,
and I can't be anything like that.
No.
And I don't want to tell her what I'm doing because she'll laugh at me and think I'm being stupid.
Yeah. But I mean, we do. She sort of points out at the beginning, as we're coming back all the way back to that, and that's something else we talked about in the media studies class about sort of like the gender specifics with that, because prior to that, Gaz makes a comment to like, oh, Dave, I caught you doing the vacuuming now.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I let that slide, but, you know, it's like, oh, well, what men can't, not supposed to be doing housework and chores like that. It's like, it's a funny thing of that, but it's like, yeah, today it's like, well, men can hoover, I hoover.
Well done, sweet. You do, don't you? Yeah.
But more to the...
Don't wash up, though.
More to the point of when the ladies, including Jean, who goes in the men's toilets just to sort of check out what it looks like, and then she's kind of like, oh, Dave's like kind of giving up on, you know, work, me, and all that stuff, and then one of her friends, oh, this will cheer you up, and she starts pissing like a man against, like, oh, this is funny, isn't it?
I don't know how she's actually doing that. I as a woman, I'm like, you need to bend further back, love.
like parallel,
and thrust forward, and you need something.
Maybe I don't know.
Of a funnel to point it somewhere, like, because our pee literally just goes everywhere.
It goes down.
It goes down. It goes sideways. It can go where we don't have a thing to point it to where it needs to go. Unlike you, like, who has a hose. Like, it's like, you know, we don't have that. Ours is like
admittedly, sometimes it doesn't always.
Well,
it depends how desperate it is, or no, it might just go like gush out for like, no, I didn't tell you to do that pressure level.
Well, it's that tap. But, it's like literally, it's like a tap of ours, but ours has got no hose pipe.
Sometimes, admittedly, it's hard to navigate, even if you think you've got it sussed.
Still lucky, I really do think you are lucky in that capacity.
But so in terms of the dancing, they're getting to a point where they're kind of getting a bit more into it now, even when they're in the job centre queue. When the music comes on, they're doing a little...
And obviously they're...
dancing to it hot stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're practising in their old workplace, so, like, it's a derelict warehouse now, and they're now working and going there every day like it's their office. Yeah. To learn the routine
and then they get caught by the police because of the fact that, like, indecent exposure and stuff.
And that's when the mum of Gaz is like, well, no, you can't see Nath. anymore. You know, you've not looked after him, and you've shown him to a whole new level of indecency in front of my son. So no, we're not taking him away. But I think this is when Nath actually is appreciating his dad, and it's like, well, you're trying. I can see he's trying and is wanting to better himself. Yeah, okay, he's going to strip, but it's in a decent-ish way, and it's getting a lot of money in for that. The only thing is, obviously, he'd put £100 of Nath's money down, but forgot to say to the guy, well, it should be women only, or if he did say it, the guy didn't listen at the place, which we get to come into the actual final performance, and Gaz is like, well, no, there shouldn't be men out there. I think that's really freaked him out, and he was like, I don't want, like, kind of backing out, and his son gives him a bit of a bollocking of like, no, Dad, you said you wanted to do this. This was all your idea. You're going out there now and you're going to do it. And I kind of like that, because I think back in the early 2000s, you would tell your parents off sometimes. I know you wouldn't, but I think that was a thing. Like, children were a little bit more.
But is that more because of the fact, because it's sort of a broken family, and so it's sort of like come across as like a friend, isn't it? In that sense, because it's not.
Yeah, I think.
Whereas
so.
if your parents are still together, then
they're more of a unit, aren't they?
Yeah. Whereas, he knows what his dad's like, and jokey attitude and all that kind of stuff.
I think it works really well though, and they've got a lovely relationship. And he kicks his ass into gear and goes, "Get out there, Mum's out there. She hasn't got a partner with her. She's come to see you, Dad. So, at least you can do is actually show that you're gonna commit." Yeah,
and by that point as well, Dave admits to Jean that what he's been doing because
she thinks he's having an affair, which is really understandable. Like, I didn't know she thought he turned gay with finding that like red jock string thing.
Yeah. No, you would have thought, wouldn't you, or something that's going on, like, oh, that's where that's going.
I were a stripper, right? Me and Gaz and some fellas thought we could make a bob or two out of taking us clothes off.
Strippers?
All right, I know.
You and Gaz? Strippers?
We weren't that bad. Only I couldn't, could I?
Why not?
Well, look at me.
So?
Jeannie, who wants to see this dance?
Me, Dave. I do.
And I think it's quite a sweet, tender moment when he's like, oh, who's going to want to see this dance? He's like, me, Dave. I do. And it's like, they've got a strong bond
I want to see you dance. And I just thought,
Yeah.
I love that relationship.
Yeah.
I just think that it's so pure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just, they are actually more I could watch something of them and be more than happy to continue with that relationship and that couple.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoy that side more than Gaz and his problems, if I'm completely honest.
No, I get you. Yeah. More humble with them, that scenario.
More deserving.
Yeah.
And it's a success. They do really well. Obviously, they're selling the tickets because it's now going to be the full Monty. That's why it's called.
Yeah.
What it is.
Yes. And everyone in town before that as well, like, is kind of in on it. Like, the word spreads, and it's only a small community, isn't it? And so everyone's
everybody's
like,
there.
a joke, but that's not what I heard.
And you sold out pretty much the tickets, so he's got enough money to pay for Nath and see him.
Yeah.
And also,
support,
basically, going to get a bit more pocket money from it, and it's a real success, isn't it? Pretty much. My only gripe is with this film is obviously they've got a hat on, and they've got the red jock string.
Yeah.
Not being crass, but if it was a woman, you would see everything. Like on Poor Things, I'm pretty sure I saw Emma Stone's boobs, vagina, ass.
Definitely saw boobs.
We saw her vagina because I remember seeing it. You might have not seen like the open vagina, but you saw the hairy bush.
Yeah. Yes.
So it was a bit like, why can't I see his dingaling? I've been promised throughout this film that it's a full Monty, but do I get to see the full Monty? No. I get the concept.
I know what you're saying, but at the same time, it would still be classed as too.
Don't care. Why? Why is that classed as too raunchy? And this is the bit that pisses me off a little bit. Because from a woman, you can see everything. You never see properly a man's thing.
To be fair, it's not the most attractive thing, is
Well,
it?
neither is a woman's vagina, but yeah, again, it's always there.
Well, no, because you don't see it from, like, underneath, do you, normally?
Still, like...
From that angle.
I just don't think it's fair. You promise to get to see the full Monty, you get to see the full thing, not just their asses.
But-
How would you feel if you didn't get to see the full Monty of a woman? Let's say, right, it's full Monty, but I'm not going to take my top off. That's literally the same thing. You're not going to get to see my boobs.
I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to something like that anyway and seeing that other people, men go, whoa, whoa.
True.
Oh, no,
But
no thanks.
if you were thinking of paying for it and that they were going to take all the clothes off, then you wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to leave my bra on. That wouldn't be acceptable.
You mean like
would
in a
it?
strip joint, you mean? Or
let's say there's a Chippendale version of women. I don't know.
Yeah, but I say I wouldn't be in go in a situation with that.
I know, but just hypothetically, Paul, it's still, you don't think you'd think you're getting your money's worth, would you? Because you're not getting what was sold on the ticket.
So I think it would more just be, if I was to say like, oh well, a bra came off, then yeah, fine.
No, it doesn't. You don't get to see them.
Oh right.
That's what I mean.
That's the big sell with.
Well, yeah, you don't get to see him because the big sell with a man is obviously
because that would be that. For me, that would be sufficient, even if just the pants was stayed on.
No, the pants come off, but you don't get to see the top.
Well, that's
bit.
stupid.
No, it's not, because that's the same thing as what this has done, in my opinion.
No, because the lower region is worse off. That's because even certain things at that time wouldn't show the bush. It'd be ooh, that's a bit taboo.
Exactly, but now they do. But we still don't get to see. Not that there's anything special about them, they are the most ugliest thing ever. But still, I think from a woman and a man perspective, it's not very fair. Why is yours so high and mighty that it can't be displayed? But a woman has to bear all.
I don't know. This is how it is.
It's not fair, is it? That was the only bit at the end. It didn't have to be long. Like,
hey,
it could have been just like a little quick snip, and you see, right,
Flash.
oh, yeah, that flashed. That's fine.
But I don't know, because I don't
way.
think that would have, like, the way it's done, it's kind of like a freeze frame, like everyone's like, I don't know, I can't really see how that would have worked as an ending point. If there's like just, say it was from the front, a freeze frame of penis, and I think that would have been a bit, oh gosh, like.
No, but I mean, just like a flash to the front, and then it could flash to the end, to the bums again. But just, so you got to see a quick flash, because that's what it says it should be. That's what you think you're going to get, and you don't.
Well, to them, the actual audience in the film, not as
they
us
got
to
that,
the audience.
but we didn't as audiences watching. And did they actually get that, or did they have something covered? You don't know that. Probably covered. Let's be honest. We assume in the film that we've watched it, but actually as actors, they will not show their dang around. Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, Miss poor Emma Stone had to show everything. She better got paid enough for that. I didn't see Mark Ruffalo's. Did you?
No.
No. To see his chest.
You'd like the film more if you'd seen his.
Yep. At least one of them. There's 6 of them, and I got to see nothing of all 6 of them.
Does that point us down?
Oh yeah.
The score on that film.
Yes.
Okay. Well, is there anything else to bring up other than your gripe and grievances with the ending?
No, nothing else. Unless you've got anything else, I'm fine now.
Right. Well, what is?
Go first?
Yeah, of course you do. What is your score?
Oh, I don't like it when you go first. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those timepieces, and it brings you back to a time capsule in a sense. I think it does feel dated just because of that, but not in a bad way. But you can tell that it's not modern.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it a bad. It's not a negative.
No. Well, we did those after we watched this. It was like, oh, I don't know, there was like a new series like way after the fact. I think it was 2023 or something.
Yeah, it was.
Like Full Monty like TV series. I thought, well, let's give that a try. And that kind of like definitely is more of a, oh, these characters are like in the modern age, and they're like, oh, I'm confused about all this kind of like Me Too movement and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know if that's. And like trying to be funny in that sense is like, oh, I don't understand computers, or
2 baps or something is the
place
is called, but you can't say that. And I think it doesn't fall as nicely as this film does, like the series.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll continue because it's like, well, it's called Full Monty. Is it going to go back to what
Oh, watching all the because they're really old now as well.
Well, or
Don't wanna see a
is it
shriveled
literally,
up one.
or is it literally just a prolonged drama series about their lives?
I think that's what it is.
Which is like, well, that doesn't really
And I
reflect
feel
the
like
title.
Gaz seems worse off in this. Like,
What
like-
have we gathered? Yeah, he
he
still,
seems to have gone downhill,
yeah.
and I think when I saw it, it quite upset me personally because it was like, I know this sounds really daft. I see it as in your 20s or your 30s, you might be having hard times, you might be struggling. I'd like to think when you get to like your 40s and 50s, you've learned something along the way and you've changed your life for the better and tried to improve it. Whereas it was like all these characters hadn't learned anything. They were still where they were 20 years ago. And that for me were a bit like quite sad to see. Them not tried
in some
to...
ways they have, some ways they haven't. But I don't know if that's
Obviously,
the point.
Dave's character, he was working at a school with his wife, and
She was higher up than he was.
Yeah, like the headmaster. And she was like, "Well, what are you proud of your life, Dave?" And he's like, "Well, you." And she's like, "Yeah, but I asked you of your life."
Yeah.
And it's just like it's quite
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, just off topic. I just thought I'd just bring that up.
So I think overall, it would have been a little bit higher if I'd have got to see the Dinglings. Just because I think... No, I just think it's fair. I got promised a full Monty, and I just think I'd gone in my head assuming that was going to be what I saw, and I didn't get to see it, and it's like, well, it's a bit of a cop-out, isn't it? Like, it's just not fair.
Do you get to see that more in Magic Mike?
No.
Right.
I don't think so. But how they're dancing in Magic Mike lets you off. Like...
I see.
But this was delivered on the tin of, you are going to get to see the full Monty. Never in Magic Mike does it say I'm going to do that, so I'm not going to complain. If that makes sense.
I guess.
It's like ordering some food and you don't get your fries with it. It's that kind of like, you just get a burger and you don't get your fries. You're like, well, I paid for my fries, why aren't I having them? That's how I see it. Anywho, so I think overall, really enjoyed it. Lovable characters. Really love Dave as a person. He just seems like one of those people that's so humble and sweet. You've got Nath, who is a good little son, relatable in a degree, like he wants to be there for his dad, even though his dad's a bit of a lowlife, but can see that he's trying. And yeah, I just think it's quite an enjoyable, light, easy breezy, bit of a drama. Some hard subjects hit, but in a really comical way that they work well. So I think it's going to be a 7.5. Would have been an 8.
Right. So that let down at the end.
Just let down at the end.
Mm.
So it can 0.5 just for a little viewing. Don't need to be a close up, just like from far away would have been fine.
Enhance.
It didn't need to be. Could have been like really, really like panning out.
At the same time, that doesn't make... There's a lot of sense then to do that if it's like, even like, well, we can't really see anything.
I don't mind. At least I got to see something. Anyways, over to you. Obviously, you were happy that you didn't get to see them. Men are really weird about that kind of thing, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess.
Like, I used to suffer poor things and see everything of Emma Stone's, but that's fine. But if a man sees another man's, it's like, I don't know, it makes you feel inadequate. I don't know.
Can do. So, I don't know, it might surprise you that they do enjoy it for the drama aspect of it more than what, obviously, it's leading up to a dance, like, oh, why would you like this? Or why would you even recommend this as an option for something that, it's about guys stripping, when it's a lot more than that, really.
It is. It really is.
Which works. And I can certainly more as I'm older and understanding more about like how, it is a hard world to live in and sort of like scrape together to find work and stuff, and sort of been on the dole myself in the past and stuff, and that's like
when you were younger.
Yeah. Obviously not
I think also it's finding that for them friends, that community, that strong people that stick by you. I think that's something you realise and value when you're a lot older, who's going to be with you for the hard run as well as the fun times.
Yeah. So I'm going to put it at 7 because, as I say, it's something that's I wouldn't like jump back to all the time, but definitely I'd say holds up in terms of like of the time that it is, Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
the values of it's kind of like, yeah, maybe it won't fly now, but I think because of the humour that comes along with it, that we kind of know because
we've
where
grown up with it.
Then yeah, it works.
And I think, to be fair, like, if you were comparing this to Magic Mike is just all about the stripping and the dancing, and it is just basically that's your storyline. Whereas this is so much more than just people
I'll take your
getting naked.
word for it, but I guess because I don't know if it's because this is more of a UK based, and the Magic Mike is set in the States. Yeah. Whether they've got to have that, or the studio are like, well, this has got to be all selling it on the dancing
and the sex appeal and everything. Yeah,
like that. That sells it. Whereas British do drama pretty well in terms of like the reality of grounded in that.
So I hope everyone's enjoyed our episode since we've been back. Yeah, and
sorry, I don't know. Hopefully you got something from it, and we're like, oh, is this why they pick this film? But hopefully,
I think somebody will laugh at me wanting to see a Witchy
Yeah, surely, yeah.
So. There's going to be some chuckles there. I'd like to know any other women who feel disheartened and disappointed in this.
If you've seen the film, yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's equal rights. Like, we're all for equal everything. Well,
we want dicks.
Just think it should be fair, is all I'm saying.
Well, thank you very much for listening to this episode.
You're welcome.
And if you would like to check out some of our other episodes, you can do so by going on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we'd also appreciate it if you left us a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, and wherever else they do the scoring system.
So if you haven't already and you want to follow us on social media, then you can. So we are on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram and Threads. So we're under the handle SP_filmviewers. So you can hit that like, follow and subscribe button.
I'd also like to shout out the Patreons.
Yay! I feel like we haven't done this in a while. So,
it's only been a week.
I know. It feels like it's been a while. So we have got my mum. We have got Gren, who you can follow on Instagram under the handle @cgren_draw.
We've also got Alex and Shani on Instagram under the handle Desperately Seeking Username and SDOG, respectively.
We've then got our friends Emma and Jones. So Jonesy's on Instagram under the handle Weight Loss Jonesy, and Em's also is under M_Hayton. And lastly but not least, our wonderful podcast film community. So we've got Ben from Film Vloggers.
Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film.
And lastly but not least, Nico from the Good, the Bad, the Weird podcast. I always want to say ugly. So yeah, go check them out and go listen to them. You've grown quite closely with them, haven't you? Because you do more of the social media side of things.
So if you would like your name shouted out every single episode and get the chance to vote for a movie we watch once a month, then you can do so by going to patreon.com/SPFilmViewers.
And you'll be in time for the February one as well. So if you subscribe sooner rather than later, you'll be able to pick for this month.
Yep, and next episode is, speaking of good, the bad, the weird.
I didn't know if we were allowed to say.
No, it may as well, because we kept him long enough with this episode that we have lined up to cover a film we haven't seen, which is The Good, the Bad, the Weird.
Excited.
Yeah, and I'm sure Nico will be happy with that.
I'm hoping he's going to, well, what if I hate it? And then he'll be like, oh, Sophie's all wrong and I've named my podcast after this. And
what am I doing?
Yeah, he might stop talking to you, be like, you need to divorce your wife.
Yeah, so, it should be fun to check out, because it's generally been something that I've kind of seen posters of and think, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Anyway,
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, don't know. But I'm assuming it's something inspired by Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Well, you'd thought so, since they've pinched the name and just changed one letter.
One word.
One word, yes. Yeah. I knew what I meant.
Yeah. Right, well, thank you very much for listening once again, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
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 Bye.